yesterday I stumbled on something that came across X, and it was a thread of posts by a guy that we have talked about here before, Alexander Dugin. This guy is a Russian thinker whose words sometimes feel like a storm gathering on the horizon, and most people don't know who he is. But trust me, what he's saying is not just noise. It could shake the ground that is under all of our feet, and especially when we're negotiating with Russia, we have to keep our eyes on Alexander Dugin. And we have talked about him on this program before because he is important. He's not just some random guy muttering in a basement. He is a big and powerful voice in Russia, and he whispers ideas to the leaders in Moscow, and ideas that not only could but have and will reshape the world in ways that, you wouldn't expect and probably are not for. His post on X, they're cryptic lines about dark ages and technological black holes and the end of time, but they're not random thoughts. And you really need to take the time, like I did last night, and just try to piece together what is he saying here. Because they're all pieces of a story that he's telling, and it's a story as old as humanity itself, but twisted into something new and very dangerous. So let me explain it this way. I want you to imagine a clock tower. Clock tower in an old village. Its gears are grinding, its hands are now sticking, and has been this way going for centuries, but it is just barely operating. That clock is our modern world. Our science, our democracy, our smartphones, our highways, built on reason and progress, but things are starting to gum up, right? So Dugin looks at that clock and sees that it is breaking, and its gears are rusting, and its hands are spinning out of control. And when you and I would say, we got to fix that thing, he doesn't say that. He wants to smash it. He wants to take us back to a time before the clock existed and time didn't matter, before science and reason, back to a mythical, almost magical age where the world was filled with mystery and kings and gods held sway and everything felt sacred and ordered. Basically, the heart of what he's after is a return to a past that never really existed. He's looking for King Arthur's castle. But he believes that it can be reborn, but only through Russia. Now, I want to take you to his post that he posted yesterday where he talked about something called Kali Yuga. Oh, my gosh. It's like a long winter for the soul of the world, an age of chaos and greed and moral rot. He says thinkers believe this dark age that we're currently in may end in 2025, and it will open a door to a new beginning. Now, to you, that might sound like fairy tale or horoscopes or whatever, but to Dugin, this is a map. It's a prophecy that he is using to argue that our world, our jobs, our freedoms, our tech is all falling apart. And he believes that 2025, this year, could be the year the curtain drops on all of it. Now, he's not just predicting this, he is rooting for it.
I had horrible pain in my hands. I had a hard time moving them. I could barely work with them. I couldn't write or type or anything. I tried everything. Then I found Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free supplement developed by doctors, and it's safe to take daily. It made a real impact for me and so many others. Try their 3-week quick start now, $19.95 at relieffactor.com.
He sees it as a chance to rebuild a world where Russia, his homeland, rises like a savior, bringing back that lost magical order. Now, remember, his magical order is the fourth way. It's, we had communism, we had capitalism, and then we had fascism. He says none of those work. And fascism was close, but Hitler didn't go far enough. His words, not mine. And so he's got a fourth political way. And it's not one that you would like. He also posted, just on the same day, he mentioned the era of Aquarius. And so I immediately heard the age of Aquarius, a new age idea about a coming time of change and a storm of cosmic shifts that are supposed to happen, he believes, by 2030. I just want you to picture here a hurricane tearing through your town, ripping up the roads, the houses, everything that was built there, everything that was built, with science and reason, and then replacing that with a magic castle with, My Little Pony. Something that he believes is more sacred and more pure, going back before we had the age of science and reason. So yesterday he talked about a black hole. He called it the singularity. And he said, just like Elon Musk did, we're at the singularity. This singularity, we talked about it yesterday, is a moment where our AI, our Elon Musk style dreams of the future, collapse into something unknown and scary. He doesn't see this as progress. He sees this as a dark pit, a point where our modern world meets its end. So he is screaming for the singularity to open up and swallow all of us, which will open up, for his vision to happen. So he was talking about how Trump just gets it done, has a get it done attitude, a practical results first American spirit. Okay. He's not saying that in a good way. Okay. And it's really important to remember that, Satan just doesn't lie. He takes truth and then he twists it. So there's always parts of it you're like, well, no, but that's true, right? You have to have a bit of truth to sell every lie. So you have to be careful. Listen, he is not praising Trump because he loves America. He is using him as a weapon against the global order that he wants to destroy, including our democracy, our open markets, our way of life, the liberal world order, meaning the Bill of Rights. This is why Dugin is dangerous, because he's not just dreaming in a corner on all of this. He's a strategist. He's feeding these ideas to Russian leaders, including Putin. They've called him for years Putin's brain. He's pushing for a world where America's influence is crushed and where science and reason are replaced by myth and control. He wants Russia to lead a new empire, to counterweight everything else, built on a strict mystical order where everyone knows their place and the past rules the future. So his posts on X are not just crazy rants. You really need to know what he is talking about. They're signals. He is sending signals to people, calling to action the people who share his dream of a postmodern, pre-science world. Now, let me talk to you about who else he influences. Let's talk about Iran. Dugin is down in Iran all the time. Dugin is Putin's voice and chief architect for the relationship between Iran and Russia, or, what those who study the Bible might call Gog and Magog. Just want to throw that in. Over in Iran, as we have discussed, their spiritual leaders, they believe in a figure they call the 12th Imam, or the Mahdi. It's a kind of Messiah who will bring justice and restore a divine order at the end of time. My studies and understanding of the 12th Imam, or the Mahdi, Christians would describe him as, the Antichrist. In Iran, they always talk about speeding up his return. Not the people of Iran, but the leadership of Iran. That's why nuclear weapons are so frightening in their hands, because they do believe that the world has to be cleansed in the fire of the Islamic fury. Their words, not mine. That is very similar to the view Dugin has. Dugin encourages this, Both he and the mullahs of Iran actually believe that the world needs to be washed in blood for true faith, order, and religion to return. Dugin and Iran, they are not buddies in the usual sense, but they're both obsessed with end times theories, wanting to hurry history's collapse to bring in a new sacred world. For Dugin, it's the end of Kali Yuga, or that technological black hole. For Iran, it's the Mahdi's arrival. Both of them see our world, our science, our freedom, our global trade, our Bill of Rights as rotten, ready to be torn down and rebuilt in a new way. Now, whether he's trying to usher in the Antichrist, I don't know. It's a big question, and it's tricky because he doesn't use that exact term, but his words always hint at that. In Christian tradition, the Antichrist is a figure who brings chaos and pretends to be the savior before the real savior comes. And Dugin's talk of dark ages, black holes, technological singularities yesterday, and a new order sounds like he is flirting with that idea, especially as he teams up with Iran. He sees our modern world as ruled by what he calls the prince of this world, kind of an evil spirit of materialism and freedom that he wants to replace. But be very, very careful, because what I just said, you could say, well, this is ruled by the prince of this world, and it's kind of evil. Yes, it is. But remember, truth mixed with lies. Whether he's constantly calling for the Antichrist or he's just tapping into that energy, his vision could, and he wants it to lead there, accelerating chaos to give birth to something that he believes is divine, but has to be destructive at first. So is this evil? I don't know. Evil depends on perspective, doesn't it? I mean, the imams the mullahs over in Iran think we're evil. He doesn't see himself as evil. He sees himself as a savior, and Russia as a savior, restoring the lost purity to the world. But his goals of smashing science, democracy, and individual freedom to impose a rigid mystical hierarchy that would lead to suffering on a biblical scale. You know, anybody who's ever tried that in the past, we label them later as evil. So, yeah. I mean, he's not twirling his mustache and cackling while he ties Nell to the railroad tracks, but he does push a vision that destroys everything that we hold dear. And if that vision takes hold, it will crush the freedoms that you and I cherish. This is why he's dangerous. His passion, he wants to ignite a fire that burns the world as we know it. We are in a very, very precarious situation, and it's come clear to me over the last few weeks that perhaps we were saved this last election because we have bigger fish to fry, that there are much deeper spiritual things that are happening, and you saw them exposed by Christopher Rufo yesterday. What's happening in Washington, that is spiritual rot. And there's two ways to go. We can go for the chaos route, which, by the way, is Dugin's personal symbol or logo, if you want. It's the ancient sign of chaos. And let's just remember who the father of chaos is. Dugin's clock tower isn't just breaking. He's announcing that it's about to crash. And he is handing out hammers to anyone who will help him smash and then rebuild it the way he wants. You need to stay awake, listen carefully. Don't let the trick of false light or shadows bind you to the storm that he and others are brewing. We're not just talking about ideas, we're talking about the future, and Dugin's dream could drag us back into a darkness we have spent centuries trying to escape. But God's given us all the power to see it. You just have to know what to look for, and you have to stay close to him. You have to question it to be able to stand against it. And that's where the true light will start. Make sure you find the true light because the darkness is out of the shadows, and there are other things that are happening in this world besides what's happening in Washington.